The sky outside was heavy and gray as Wendy sat across from Elaine's spotless desk, watching her boss leaf through the promotion file with the kind of detached routine that came from years of repetition. 5 years of lost weekends, skipped family dinners, and countless late nights were condensed into a 20-page portfolio, one Elaine barely skimmed before setting aside. "I appreciate your enthusiasm," Elaine said, adjusting the frames of her designer glasses. "But after reviewing your application, I just don't think you're ready for senior management. Your performance has been adequate. Maybe in another year or two." Adequate. The word landed between them like a brick. I had led the department in client satisfaction. I'd single-handedly saved the Lawford account when everyone else had written it off. I hadn't taken a real weekend off in 3 years. But instead of arguing, I smiled, that polished, professional smile I'd perfected over the years. "I understand," I said smoothly. "Thank you for the feedback. I'm glad we're aligned." Elaine checked her watch, already moving on. "The Ellison proposal needs your attention today. They've asked for new performance metrics before signing." As I gathered my folder, she was already typing an email, my disappointment erased as quickly as it had appeared. I passed the corner office that should have been mine, the one with the view and the glass door where my name should have been printed. In the parking garage, I sat in my car, staring into the rearview mirror. The woman staring back wasn't sad. She wasn't angry either. She looked calculating. I started the engine and made 2 decisions that would change everything. I'd cancel my vacation, and I'd stop writing my daily operational guides. No one realized it yet, but their flawless system was about to collapse because its invisible foundation was done holding them up. Before I tell you what happened next, maybe you're wondering why so many people stay trapped in jobs where they're overlooked. If this story sounds familiar, hit like and subscribe. I share a new career strategy every week that might just shift your professional life. Now, back to that moment. My name is Amelia Carlton, and until that meeting, I was Meridian Solutions' most dependable employee. Not the most visible, not the most highly paid, but the one who kept the place running while others basked in the credit. I'm naturally methodical, with an almost photographic memory for systems and processes. Growing up as the eldest of 5 taught me how to solve problems before they exploded, a skill that translated perfectly into corporate survival. When I joined Meridian 5 years ago, I walked straight into chaos. The previous team lead had quit after clashing with management and took every bit of operational knowledge with them. No documents, no transition notes, not even system passwords. Clients were furious, projects were crumbling, and no one had a clue where to start. I spent 3 months rebuilding everything from scratch, reverse engineering processes, decoding cryptic spreadsheets, reconstructing client histories late into the night. When I was done, I'd created detailed, color-coded guides for every single workflow, indexed, organized, and foolproof. Elaine never learned a thing about those systems. Why would she? I kept everything running so seamlessly that she didn't have to. "You're such a natural problem solver," she'd say during my evaluations, always followed by a small raise that never reflected the workload I carried. The company's latest triumph was landing Ellison Enterprises, a multi-million-dollar client I'd cultivated from nothing. I'd stayed late to match their overseas hours, studied their industry inside out, and earned their trust. Elaine had shown up to exactly 3 meetings, just enough to claim credit in executive briefings. Every morning, I arrived by 7:30 to prepare her notes for the 9 a.m. management meeting. Every night, I sent detailed updates on active projects. In between, I quietly extinguished every fire before anyone even smelled smoke. But the morning after my denied promotion, something in me shifted. That day, I walked in at exactly 9 o'clock. Not early, not rushed. Right on time. No briefing notes. No late night prep. I only answered emails addressed directly to me and ignored everything else. When a supplier issue came up, I didn't swoop in to fix it. I forwarded it to the department responsible. By noon, confusion had started to ripple through the floor. "Amelia, did you see the email about the Lawford scheduling issue?" Peter from accounting asked. "Yes," I said, fingers still moving across my keyboard. He waited a moment. "So, are you handling it?" I glanced up. "That falls under procurement." I sent it to Diane. His eyebrows lifted. But you always take care of that stuff. I've been encouraged to focus on my assigned responsibilities, I replied with a small smile. Just trying to stay in my lane. By 5 o'clock, I packed up and left. No after-hours work. No checking messages. On my way home, I canceled the cabin reservation for my long-awaited vacation. Instead, I'd be there front row for the system's inevitable breakdown. That evening, my phone buzzed nonstop with work alerts. I silenced it and rolled up my sleeves to bake chocolate chip cookies with my daughter, Elena, something I hadn't done in ages. As we laughed at the oddly shaped cookies, I felt something I hadn't in years, lightness. Mom, why are you home so early? She asked, licking dough from the spoon. I paused, thinking of a way to explain corporate politics to a 10-year-old. I decided my time's valuable, sweetheart, I said, smiling. And I want to spend more of it with you. Her face lit up. Can we do this again tomorrow? Absolutely, I promised, ignoring the phone vibrating endlessly on the counter. By the next morning, the cracks had begun to show. Ellison had requested urgent changes to their implementation plan. Changes only I knew how to handle. Elaine tried to manage the situation herself, but without my briefings, she was lost. Where are the process notes for the Ellison customizations? She demanded, appearing at my desk at 10:30. It's in the shared drive, I answered pleasantly. Under client implementations. I mentioned it during last month's department meeting. There are hundreds of files in there. Which one exactly? I pulled the folder up on my screen. The main file's titled Ellison Enterprise Integration, Complete Process Documentation. It's arranged by module, each with labeled tabs. Elaine stared at the 200-page document, horror barely hidden on her face. Can you just handle this yourself? The client's waiting. I'd be glad to, I replied evenly. But I've got the quarterly compliance review this afternoon. I can start on Ellison first thing tomorrow. Her jaw tightened. This can't wait until tomorrow. I understand, I said. Would you prefer I postpone the compliance review? It's due to the regulators by end of day. She didn't answer, just turned sharply and marched off, her heels echoing down the hallway. That evening, I shut off every work notification and took Elena to the park. My personal phone stayed silent beside me as I watched her soar on the swings, laughter ringing through the air. For the first time in years, I felt completely present. When we got home, I checked my work phone once. 79 missed calls. The voicemail shifted from confused to frantic to furious. The Ellison team was threatening to end their contract. 3 systems had malfunctioned, all issues thoroughly detailed in my documentation, which no one had bothered to read. The compliance report for the regulators still sat unfinished. I set the phone down and slept better than I had in years. The next morning, I arrived precisely at 9. The office had transformed overnight. People rushed between conference rooms. Elaine was visible through her glass office wall, frantically gesturing during a video call. The regional director's assistant paced nervously near the elevators. I calmly sat at my desk and began organizing my tasks. Where have you been? Peter hissed, appearing beside me, eyes wide. Everything's falling apart. Elaine's been trying to reach you since yesterday. I left at 5, I replied calmly. My hours are 9 to 5, as stated in my contract. But the Ellison crisis, they're threatening to leave. No one can figure out how to implement their updates. I nodded thoughtfully. That process requires specific handling. It's all outlined in the guide I wrote last year. No one understands your documentation without you walking them through it, he nearly shouted. Before I could respond, Elaine's assistant appeared in the doorway. Amelia, emergency meeting in the conference room. Now, I gathered my notebook and pen and walked, unhurried, to the conference room. Elaine sat beside the regional director, Byron Wallace. Their faces were drawn, papers scattered across the table. Amelia, Byron said, clear relief in his voice. Thank goodness. We need your help with the Ellison situation. I sat down, placing my notebook neatly on the table. Of course. How can I assist? Elaine's expression was tight, her anger restrained. Let's skip the formalities. What will it take for you to fix this? The promotion, it's yours. I tilted my head slightly. That's generous. But I've been approached by another company. They've offered me a senior management role with a substantial pay increase. Apparently, they think I'm qualified. The room fell silent. Byron's eyes widened, Elaine's narrowed sharply. You're leaving? Byron asked. When? I haven't accepted the offer yet, I said. I'm still weighing my options. Name your price, Byron replied immediately. Whatever they're offering will match it. I smiled politely. It's not just about salary. It's about respect, recognition, and opportunity. The Ellison client specifically requested you by name, Elaine snapped. You can't possibly walk away now. Interesting, I said. So did 4 other clients this month. I reached into my bag and placed a folder on the table. Here's my 2 weeks' notice. I'll assist with the transition, as my contract requires. Elaine reached for it, but Byron grabbed it first. He flipped through the pages, then shut it decisively. That won't be necessary, he said firmly. Amelia, I'd like to speak with you privately in my office. As I stood to follow him, Elaine remained frozen, her knuckles white against the polished wood. The company's reaction to my resignation was about to show exactly how much they had underestimated me, and what they'd now be willing to do to keep me. I followed Byron through the office, feeling curious glances trail us. His corner suite was sleek and understated, awards and certificates lined one wall, while tall windows framed a panoramic city view. He motioned for me to sit across from him. I've been observing your work for quite some time, Byron said, folding his hands on the desk. Though apparently not closely enough, I thought, staying silent. The situation with Elaine troubles me, he admitted. This is the first I'm hearing of your promotion being denied. Why didn't you come to me, directly? Chain of command, I answered simply. Elaine's my supervisor. Going over her head would have been inappropriate. He nodded slowly. Admirable, but perhaps not ideal in this case. Tell me honestly, what would it take for you to stay? I considered my response. Acknowledgement of my real contributions, fair compensation, and a role that lets me implement the strategies I've developed, instead of executing someone else's vision. Byron studied me for a moment. I'm creating a new role, Director of Operational Systems, reporting directly to me. Double your current salary, 3 remote days a week, and authority over workflow design. It's yours if you want it. I didn't answer right away, which seemed to catch him off guard. Is that not enough, he asked. It's extremely generous, I said. But I need to be clear. I'm not bluffing with another offer. There truly is a company waiting for my decision. Byron leaned back thoughtfully. What can they give you that we can't? A clean slate, I said quietly. No past neglect. No coworkers who still see me as support staff instead of leadership. He nodded. Fair point. But consider this. You've built these systems yourself. You know them inside and out. You've earned your client's trust. Starting over means building all that from nothing. He was right, of course. 5 years of expertise and relationships weren't easy to replace. But neither was the constant feeling of being overlooked. I'll need some time to think about it, I said finally. Take the weekend, he said, standing to signal the meeting was over. But I'll need your decision by Monday morning. And Amelia, try to get the Ellison situation under control before you make any final calls. I nodded. I'll take care of Ellison personally today. Back at my desk, Byron's email was already waiting for me. It detailed the new job offer in writing, and the salary figure made me blink twice. It was more than twice what I currently made. The role description could have been written straight from my resume. I was gathering notes for the Ellison call when Elaine appeared beside my desk, her face carefully composed. We need to talk, she murmured. Not here, I said quickly. Lunch. I have the Ellison call at noon. Then after that, my office. 2 o'clock. I nodded, already shifting focus back to the fire that needed putting out. When I joined the Ellison team's call, the frustration in their voices softened into relief. Their requests weren't unreasonable. They wanted complex customizations delivered in days, not weeks. I proposed a phased rollout that met their most urgent needs first, building toward the full vision they had in mind. This is exactly why we chose your company, their director said. You actually understand how our business works, not just the tech side. After hanging up, I outlined the entire solution step by step and sent it to the implementation team with precise instructions. Normally, I would have managed every detail myself, but this time I delegated properly, available for questions, but not handling execution personally. At 2 o'clock sharp, I knocked on Elaine's door. She looked different, smaller somehow. The dark circles beneath her eyes hinted at a sleepless night. "Close the door," she said, motioning toward the chair across from her. "I heard Byron made you an offer," she began once I sat down. "He did," I confirmed. She nodded slowly. "I can't say I'm happy about it, but I understand. You're an asset to this company." I stayed quiet, sensing there was more. "I owe you an apology," she admitted, her voice tight. "I've depended on your abilities without giving proper credit or compensation." "Can I ask you something?" I said, genuinely curious. "When you told me I wasn't ready for senior management, what exactly did you think I was missing?" Elaine shifted uncomfortably. "You've always been very technical. The problem solver behind the curtain. Leadership at that level requires visibility, presence, political skill. In other words," I said evenly, "I do the work while others get the spotlight." She looked embarrassed. "That's an oversimplification." "Is it?" I asked. "The Ellison contract. Who presented the winning strategy to the executives?" "You did, but it was built on the proposal I wrote," I finished. "And the client retention plan last quarter that saved 4 major accounts. Who was credited with that?" "That was a team effort," she said weakly. "A team I led. One I organized and created all materials for." I leaned forward. "I'm not unqualified, Elaine. I've just let others stand taller because I was willing to be invisible." Silence stretched between us. "Are you taking Byron's offer?" she finally asked. "I haven't decided yet." "If you stay," she said carefully, "things will change between us." "Yes," I agreed. "They will." That weekend gave me distance to think clearly. On Saturday, I finally took Elena to the Science Museum, a promise I'd broken too many times before. On Sunday, I called my sister. "So what's your gut say?" she asked after I explained everything. "That I've outgrown the box they've kept me in," I told her. "But I'm not sure if Byron's offer removes the box or just makes it cushier." "Would you still report to Elaine?" "No, directly to Byron. And Elaine." He didn't say outright, I admitted, but reading between the lines, I think her role's being reevaluated. My sister was quiet for a long moment. "So your choices are start fresh somewhere new, or take a promotion that might push your old boss down the ladder." When she said it that way, the decision felt heavier. "I don't want revenge," I said slowly. "I just want to be recognized for my work." "Are you sure about that?" she pressed. "Because it sounds like part of you wouldn't mind watching her face the fallout of underestimating you." Her words hit harder than I wanted to admit. Was that what I really wanted? To see Elaine humbled, realizing how much she'd leaned on me while discounting my worth? By Monday morning, I knew my answer. I arrived early, 7:30 sharp, and went straight to Byron's office. His assistant wasn't in yet, but the door was open. "You're early," he noted, glancing up from his computer. "I wanted to give you my decision before the day gets busy," I said, sitting across from him. "I'm accepting your offer on 2 conditions." His eyebrows lifted slightly. "Go on." "First, I want authority to build my own team. 3 hires, my choice. They're essential to making this work." Byron nodded. "Fair enough. And the second?" "Elaine stays in her current position." This clearly caught him off guard. "After everything she put you through?" "Why?" "Because swapping her out won't fix the deeper issues in how the department operates," I said. "And because I don't want my first act as a leader to look like payback." He studied me with new curiosity. "That's unexpected and impressively strategic." "I've picked up a few lessons from the sidelines," I replied. "All right then. Elaine stays, but from now on, her department will coordinate all operational matters through your office." "Thank you." "No, Amelia," Byron said, extending his hand. "Thank you for staying. The announcement goes out this morning. I'd advise you to brace yourself for some strong reactions." He wasn't wrong. At 10 a.m., the company-wide email went out, announcing my new role and detailing my expanded responsibilities. Within minutes, my inbox overflowed with congratulations, questions, and meeting invites. Peter stopped by, looking a little uneasy. "So you're my boss now?" "Technically, yes," I confirmed. "That a problem?" He quickly shook his head. No, it's great. You've always been the one who actually knows what's going on anyway. Throughout the day, people who had barely acknowledged my existence suddenly had reasons to stop by and introduce themselves. Administrative assistants who'd always treated me kindly now gave me knowing smiles, small, conspiratorial ones. They understood better than anyone that invisible work is what keeps a company running. Elaine avoided me until late afternoon. Then she appeared at my desk, a folder in hand. The quarterly strategy document, she said, her tone stiff. Since operational planning now falls under your scope, you'll need to present this at tomorrow's executive meeting. I accepted the folder. Thank you. I'll review it tonight. She turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I didn't argue against your promotion because I thought you couldn't handle it. I did it because I couldn't afford to lose you from my team. It was, perhaps, the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. That's kind of the problem, isn't it? I replied. Good leaders grow their people, even if it means letting them move on. She gave a short, tight nod and walked away. That evening, I stayed late, rearranging my workspace for my new role. Byron stopped by on his way out. Still here? I figured you'd be celebrating. I will this weekend, I smiled. Right now, I'm planning. Planning what? How to make sure no one else here gets overlooked the way I was. I handed him a document I'd been fine-tuning. This is my proposed structure for the new department, complete with training programs to identify and develop internal talent systematically. He flipped through the pages, eyebrows lifting. You put this together today? No, I admitted. I've been refining it for about 2 years. I just never had the authority to make it happen. Byron shook his head, clearly impressed. Remind me never to underestimate you, Amelia. That's the plan, I said with a grin. 3 months later, the transformation was well in motion. My team now included a brilliant systems analyst who'd been buried in IT support and a talented process developer who'd been stuck in an admin role. Together, we streamlined operations across 4 departments, cutting overtime by 40% while boosting productivity across the board. Elaine and I built a professional rapport. Not friendly, exactly, but mutually respectful. She thrived in client-facing roles once freed from the operational chaos she'd never fully mastered. Unexpectedly, employee satisfaction scores across the division soared. The Ellison contract expanded, adding 2 new service lines, and they specifically requested my team's involvement in implementation. Their CEO even called Byron personally to commend the company's remarkable operational turnaround. 6 months after my so-called non-promotion, I clocked out at 5 p.m. sharp on a Friday, something I'd made a point to keep doing, even with bigger responsibilities. When I got home, Elena was at the kitchen table, homework spread everywhere. How was work, Mom? She asked, glancing up from her math book. Productive, I said, setting down my laptop. We launched the new training program today. 25 employees are getting opportunities they wouldn't have before. Like the ones you didn't get, she said. Kids notice more than we think. Yes, I nodded softly. Exactly like that. She thought for a moment. That's a nice way to fix things. Instead of getting mad, you're making it better for other people. I smiled, recognizing the quiet wisdom in her words. Sometimes the best way to respond to being underestimated isn't anger. It's showing your true worth so unmistakably that it can never be dismissed again. Later that night, as Elena slept and I prepped slides for Monday's executive meeting, my phone buzzed. Board approved your promotion to VP level, effective next month. Unanimous vote. Elaine gave the strongest recommendation. Congratulations. I set the phone down, a deep sense of satisfaction washing over me. This wasn't about revenge or even vindication. It was about finally being seen, truly seen, for what I'd always been capable of. The corner office with my name on the door was nice, but that wasn't the victory. The real victory was transforming a system that had overlooked not just me, but countless others whose quiet excellence had gone unseen. The victory was building pathways for others to rise without needing to disappear first. Because sometimes the most powerful answer to being underestimated isn't proving others wrong. It's creating a world where real talent can no longer be ignored, no matter how quietly it performs. If you've ever felt invisible at work despite carrying more than your share, I hope my story gives you courage. The very skills that make you indispensable are the ones that make you a leader. Don't wait for recognition. Demonstrate your worth so clearly that